Welcome to the third episode of Series 82, everyone. This month we have Aled, Lawlor, and Panny Lines with us to go over their remarkable post-apocalyptic mech RPG called Salvage Union. This episode we learn more about Aled and Panny before beginning our discussion about Salvage Union character creation. But before we get to that, we do have some calls to action, theoretically, coming up after the show. Here's what to expect. Things have been extraordinarily busy for me personally these last few weeks, and I think it is finally starting to simmer down a tad. But due to that, and due to being quite late on delivering these episodes, we will be foregoing the call to action section at the end of the episodes for these last two episodes in the series. Check out the show notes for links to Salvage Union and any other potential announcements, or check out our Patreon at patreon.com/charactercreationcast to help us out immensely. We hope to be back on track for the next series coming in just a few days. Thanks so much for your patience, everyone. With all of that out of the way, enjoy the show.
Welcome back to our discussion episodes. Last time we finished our session 0 for our Salvage Union characters. This episode, we will be discussing the character creation process. We're excited to welcome back Aled, Lawlor and Panny Lines, creators of this game. Do you want to reintroduce yourselves for everyone? And please tell us about the characters you made. I don't know, Aled, if you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Aled. I'm one half of Leyline Press, and last time we made characters, and I made Dingle, I think Chaos Goblin, probably the way that one went. I don't know. So I made a salvager with Wasteland rapport, so I can ask questions of locals. And I got myself some salvaging tools so that I can do salvaging on foot. So I got some high tensile wire and salvaging tools, which gave me the salvaging and rigging traits that I needed to do that. Then when I was making my mech, I don't know, getting the appearance, rosy appearance, and the name, I don't know, it kind of put me in mind of Tingle from Zelda. So I got myself a Mazona and put a Mechapult on it, which is kind of a crazy crazy random weapon where you roll on a d20 table to find the effect, and it's quite out there, but expensive to use. So I comboed that out with a few other bits. So I got a couple of modules, particularly the personal recreation device, which is an old computer console with a targeter thing, so it's wired in, and then I can re-roll on that table, which is quite handy, and some zoom optics as well to extend the range of it, and a loudspeaker so that whenever I fire it, it makes a noise. Regardless of what's actually happening, it makes that noise. So that's the character that I made. I feel he's a happy-go-lucky sort, but previously a hermit, has no real idea of what everybody else is doing. He's just there to fling scrap and have a good time.
That's so good.
Panny, what about you?
So I'm Panny, the other half of Leyline Press. You can find me on Blue Sky at on Panny Valley, and you can find us at Leyline Press and at Salvage Union on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Facebook. And as for my pilot mech duo, my pilot was called Mama Bear. She was a fabulous platform-heeled techno goddess who went from the Coolpo nightclubs, doing the dance tunes and learning to hack on the side, I guess, and to the Salvage Union, where she pilots Diva, which is a mech basically designed to be as flashy and shiny and loud and gaudy as possible. So it was a Scrapper mech chassis. nice and solid, with hazard protection, but then it had the red laser, which obviously goes pew pew and does has nice red lights. Had the reactor flare for some more vibrancy there. We had the loudspeakers, so we can play some tunes while all of that is going on, and of course we had the floodlights, so we could get some strobe lighting into the mix as well. So and I think she had a hacking ability. I can't remember. I think it was
technically also a hacker. That is secondary to the laser light show, though. Just to be clear.
Yeah, that was important though, because that lets her hack into corpo databases and get the latest sort of pop hits. The techno
for the betterment of humanity. Obviously.
Yeah.
The unreleased deep cuts, right?
The unreleased deep cuts, the B-sides. So we can just keep on rocking without paying those subscription fees to the corporates. I think that was the gist of Mama Beth.
It's really the important stuff,
So good.
Yeah.
Ryan, what about you?
Very focused.
Yeah, I've got Spitfire the engineer. Spitfire is very akin to the engineer in Firefly. She is small, scrappy, a little sloppy, but also previously part of a cultist that worshipped the Biotitans that she was super into. Finally got out of that cult, but still has some of those like reverences towards these giant creatures and whatnot. So I'm sure she's going to get emotional whenever we encounter one of those. And she's got the engineering expertise to back up her craft. So she is ready and roaring to get some salvage and learn all about it and fix all of you up as we trudge through the, ever unforgiving wasteland. My character, let's see, Spitfire has a Mazona class chassis, and it is basically hops around through hovering. It's a Harlequin pattern, and it has kind of an iridescent sheen to the outside. So whatever angle and light angle you're looking at it has different color combos that swirl and stuff, so it's pretty good. But it's also got grisly, bloody markings all over it, so it looks really hardcore and kind of menacing as it floats around and picks stuff up and heals other mechs effectively. And that's pretty much it. Oh, aside from the back massager and heating pad that she has in the cockpit, because nice. you gotta have some self-care while you're doing your thing. All right, Amelia, how about your character?
Yes, my character is Ducky, who is a hauler. I imagine Ducky very much as Ellie from the Borderlands games, and also have a background as a cultist. And maybe we'll get into this in our fan fiction section because I haven't really figured out what that means for me yet. Ducky's motto is knowledge is power, Francis Bacon. And I think that's really, like the key information that you need to know about who she is as a person. For mech, I have a mule, and I kind of kept mostly to the hauler pattern in there. It is called Gigglebot. But it's really about carrying the most stuff. And, I do have a also recreation device, which is just sort of like a crafting, scrapbooking area. Because, you need to relax and unwind somehow.
Yeah, you got to scrapbook your scrap.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's a bit of a sort of pimp your ride kind of thing there, isn't it? We put scrapbook in your mech so you can scrap while you scrap, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, yo dog. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like the idea of having a scrapbook that is filled with garbage, but then the outside of this mech is covered in rickrack and little fuzzy pom-poms and things,
Nice contrast.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it's outside's
Absolutely.
like very kitschy, and then I have a scrapbook that is literal just garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all need hobbies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we also created a crawler, which is our kind of home base with 100 to 500 people living aboard, called Perseverance. The exploratory crawler walks around on 6 giant legs with hover-capable feet. And a chainsaw arm as its main weapon, manned by one gunny named Chuckles. I think that's the important stuff.
Nobody challenges Chuckles when it comes to.
Yeah. I mean, Chuckles is really the key here. I would like to point out our chef Sandbag as well.
Oh, yeah, our chef Sandbag. Yep.
Yeah.
And we can't forget our explorer NPC Smudge, whose motto is "Do your best." Before we go out on any missions.
Yeah.
The tone really sells it. Yeah.
As they're playing their pre-war handheld console.
Yes, with their.
Wait, hang on. So are they saying "do your best" in like an encouraging way, like in a "do your best, guys," or is it more like a "oh, just do your best"?
I mean,
I feel like it really depends on the day. Yeah.
It depends on how well they're doing at their ancient console.
Yeah. Who they're talking to as well, I imagine.
Yeah.
I feel like I get the sarcastic tone a lot, but I don't know.
I definitely feel like Dingle gets that.
We're very competent. It's okay.
I feel like Ryan's character is the only one that gets a sincere, like, do your best, just do your best. And the rest of us are like,
It's in line.
do what you can, I guess. For whatever that's worth.
With side glances at the three of you.
Off to our disco dance party.
Amazing. Well, let's go ahead and dive into a segment that we are calling D20 for your thoughts.
D20 for your thoughts?
In this segment, we talk to our guests about their thoughts on the character creation process, how it goes in this system versus other systems, and just kind of about games in general. But obviously, the first question we have to ask is the cliche question that you've probably answered on any podcast you've been a guest on. How did you end up in RPGs?
Wow. My father trained me from when I
from birth. I was raised to be a game designer.
I was told I've been the chosen one since birth.
The stars aligned.
Prophecy.
I like Warhammer and stuff, and it went from there. I don't know. Yeah, we do get asked this a lot.
That started out so strong, and then you were like, I don't know.
Yes, should have kept up with the bit. Sorry. Commit. I don't know.
Well, I'm curious. Like, when did it go from like just playing games to like being into design and things like that?
So I guess the thing with RPGs in particular, but arguably like war games, board games, but RPGs because of the GM element, you're kind of a game designer as soon as you start GMing. I started GMing. I mean, I got into tabletop, I don't know, when I was about 9 or so, I got into like Warhammer, so I was quite early there. But when I was about 16, I started playing D&D 4th edition in particular, because it just came out and it was all shiny and quite intuitive relative to other prior editions we found. But yeah, so, and then doing that, you end up, you kind of have to design the sessions, and you're in a way a game designer at that point. Well, you are a game designer at that point. And then I just got obsessed with RPGs until for about the next 10 years or so, until I met Aled when I got the job at Modiphius, and that's when it sort of transitioned. I was like dabbling with stuff, like I had a lot of Google Docs with like random game ideas and stuff like that, and I was running a lot of D&D and other RPGs, but yeah, I was going to Modiphius, really learning a bit about how the industry works from the inside, and then partnering with Aled as well, because I think you certainly really helped me like get some of those ideas onto paper, because like art and layout's not really my strong point, but you were able to, like with Shadow of Mog, which was one of the first games I did, which is a post-Brexit role-playing game set in the London Underground, which is its own kettle of fish. But like Aled gave me
I'm all in for that. Like
it's a really fun game actually, but it's very weird and aggressively niche. Would be the pitch line.
I feel like I might be the niche for that, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm intrigued.
Yeah. I think it gets, because it's political, it gets more niche. Every year goes on, the references get like even more esoteric. It's like the point you're like, are you really up on politics in 2019? Like UK politics in 2019. And you're gonna love this game. But yeah, you gave me the idea to lay it out with like bits of scrap paper basically, and doing it very physically. And
oh my god, I have this book. I just Googled it, and I do have it.
There you go. There you go. So that was like the transition to, I don't know, from like amateur or whatever you'd call it, like home to game designer to trying to do it a bit more professionally, loosely speaking. But getting it to paper, and I think so I'd say that was but lots of other things happen in between. It's not it wasn't a very clean journey for me, but I'm not sure it's a very clean journey for anyone. It's all a bit all over the place because it's
I don't think anybody is like today I will design, like that's it, I'm a game designer now. I think for a lot of people it's like the moment you start interacting with a game, you are doing some level of design, even in just choosing which rules you enforce at your table and which ones you don't. It is a very slippery slope. I always tell Ryan, like, I swore I would never design a game, and like we're kind of vaguely working on something, and I'm like, that was a bridge. That's too nerdy for me. And then, I say as someone who is an Ennies judge for 4 years and has been making an RPG podcast that has almost lasted longer than my marriage. That's a bridge too far. That's too nerdy.
Well, so we're like ultra nerds to you. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. we're at the like front of the class and you're throwing spitballs at us. Is that?
Oh, look at those weirdos.
Don't know what you'd throw the spitballs, but that's anyway. Cool. I'd agree. It's I think everyone in space is a designer really in many respects, and there's no. There is a growing formal body of RPG design in academia, which I think is really good for the industry. But there's video game development courses, but there's not really much in the way of like you can't do a 3-year degree in RPG design, really. So a lot of people bring outside skills in like layout and design, or I did a lot of obviously writing and or marketing, to be fair, which is a whole other aspect of it. So I think because there's no formal way in, I think everyone has to go their own way, right, by nature, because you can't you can't be like, oh, I'm 18, I'm going to do an RPG design degree because I want a fulfilling career.
I want to eat
in that growing industry. I can say I do it. It's fine.
What about you, Aled?
I didn't really play many RPGs. Well, I did. I didn't play any written ones much. So when I was around 10, again, into Warhammer, as probably 50% of children in the UK were that age, we did a sort of just a homebrew thing. When I was round at friends one weekend, it was just the two of us, and I drew a map, and we just started sort of kind of telling this story, and we made stat blocks, sort of like just ripping off GW stat blocks, and then we just rolled d6s to see what happened, basically. And for me, most of the fun was just in drawing the maps, right? Like, so I was GMing that one, and I just drew this like town map, and then it just kind of spiraled from there. And then, growing up, we played a lot of that sort of homebrew kind of stuff. And, you'd get into something like we got really into Avatar, The Last Airbender. And then, there was wrote a whole system for that called Elementalist, which used playing cards. And, you had like a suit of playing cards depending on your element. And then, you would use like the aces were your power attacks and, sort of running down. So then, sort of 10 to 2 were kind of mostly cantrip level kind of stuff, but it was all super loose and kind of quite narrative focused, I guess you would call it now, but we didn't really see it that way. It was just kind of telling a story really and kind of hanging out. I played a short Vampire the Masquerade campaign at one point, and then I played a couple of sessions of D&D second edition, but that was kind of it again until I got to Modiphius, and when I joined Modiphius I actually joined on the miniatures side of things, so I was on that side because miniatures were always my thing, and as we were talking in part one, I think at one point, originally Salvage Union started out as a minis game because that was my thing, more so than RPGs. And then I think when I got there, I was talking to Panny, and Panny was like, "Oh yeah, no, I just got this new book," and he showed me a copy of Troika, and I was like, "Oh damn!" This is RPG books can be art. It's not just collection of sort of skill trees and talent lists and and ability scores. And so I played that, and then started playing just loads of different stuff, and kind of reignited my love for it. And then I guess for me it was automatic that it was going to be gonna write something, dev something, because that's always been the thing that I've kind of enjoyed about RPGs is the incomplete nature of them. I think RPGs are inherently an incomplete medium, like we were talking about a second ago. As soon as you GM something, you are designing to an extent, because no RPG rule set is complete. It's not like a Euro game, board game, or whatever, where there is an answer somewhere in the rules to every rules query, because it's been written in such a way that there are no ambiguities. It's inherently ambiguous, like they're designed in that you have these rulings, not rules. That's part of it. And when you make a ruling, you're making a rule, because now moving on, that's kind of like it's I think the term's tort law, right? Or like case law, where you have a thing where somebody said something once and now that's it, and at your table that is now true. Like if you say okay, cool, you've got dark vision, what does that mean? I mean, I guess you see 50 feet. Okay, well 50 feet now becomes the default for that case, unless you can find a compelling reason that it's not. And so immediately, whenever I'm get something, I'm deving it, I guess. And this is where I think when Panny was doing Shadow of Mog, we were sort of chatting about it, and it was like, right, okay, yeah, what do you think? And it's like immediately you're like, well, or what if we did this, or what if that, and then it sort of goes from there, right? That's always been sort of like my approach to it. My struggle is much like Panny was saying with the art and layout stuff. I struggle with the writing of things and sort of getting it down. Like I'm great at playing with a framework and sort of saying, oh yeah, throwing an idea in here or there, but I really struggle to get something down. So when I was working on Salvage, it was initially at least very, very loose, and it was kind of just this collection of like, these things could be cool, but what is it? And then so teaming up with Panny, and then they sort of took it and sort of formalized a lot of these aspects, and started actually fleshing it out. And I was like, yeah, this is really good. And then that was really cool for me, because then I was like, oh, cool. So if we work together, then I can actually just focus on the thing that I really like, which is the drawing of the maps and making it look cool, which is really what sort of attracted me to it in the first place. So I guess that's my sort of approach to it, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought,
very cool.
I thought your exclamation there was like surprised that I could write. Just and you were like, sorry. I was like, I got why. It took me a second.
I took one look at you and thought, oh, you can write?
Oh my god.
Wow. Shocked.
To be fair, I didn't get the game design job at Modiphius. I got the marketing job. So But I wanted a game design job, and I'd do say annoying things in marketing meetings. Like I'd be like, a really good way to market this game if you redesigned it like this. this. And maybe like,
Have you considered making this a different game?
yeah, have you considered this?
Just a thought. Just put it out there. No bad ideas.
I got hired for the dev team, and I would do the same thing and be like, "Oh yeah, so we could like completely redesign this and make it into something different." They were like, "Okay, cool. So we're going to put you on pre-production on the miniatures. So you're going to be in studio now. Make the minis look good, please."
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
And look
You
at
will
you
not
now.
be invited to meetings in the future.
no, we will not. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Oh, it was a fun time. Learned a lot.
It was, yeah. It was like I say that everyone there was such a fun crowd, and we played so many games, and sort of like live streaming stuff as well was like, there was a proper kind of dream come true as well. Like working in the industry is like such a huge thing. Like once you start, I feel like it makes it a lot easier as well to accept that maybe there's a kind of pathway here and that it's an actual job, because certainly growing up, like I always loved games and I always liked making games, but in terms of like going to university or like like jobs and things like that, I mean I was God, how old was I when I went to Modiphius? Like I don't know, in my mid-30s, before I kind of realized that, oh wait, no, you can do games as a job. Oh yeah, okay, and then you go and you do it, and then you're part of it now, and you're like, oh, hey, yeah, maybe I can do this. Because before then, you kind of just think it's like, oh, well, for me, it's a hobby. Yeah, no, sure, some people do it, but you never really you never consider it as a career opportunity. I don't think, until maybe you've been involved in it in some way. And but yeah, it's actually in terms of like, especially with Kickstarter and stuff now, and RPGs is kind of it's a really low investment sort of situation in terms of setting something up. Like setting up a Kickstarter for an RPG book requires so much less than the vast majority of games or like any other kind of business. Like it's crazy accessible. If you make something good, then you really can get a start in it. It's quite encouraging in that way, and I think it shows in terms of the variety of interesting stuff that's coming out of the RPG space now is it's really cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
The sort of indie scene for RPGs has really exploded a lot in the last few years, and even more so since COVID and stuff. I think it's been exciting to see all of the stuff that's coming out, but it's definitely a thing that I think, my son is about to start high school and they're already like, well, what kind of career path are you thinking about? And like, no one would go into that and be like, game designer, like, I don't know, make tabletop. Like they'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like that's not a thing. Like no.
So don't do it because like, we do it and it's really not great.
Right, so you're not living with me forever, my child.
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of designers don't realize that there is a money button you can press. I don't think they know about the Kickstarter button where you can just people will if your idea is good and it's well presented. People will fund it, and I'm still surprised they do every time we put something up and it does well. I'm like, it's actually quite incredible that there's this many people who are willing to really take a gamble on us, and because they don't know if they're going to get that money back. And there are unfortunately some horror stories where people projects don't fulfill and whatnot. But But
they're relatively thin on the ground, though, compared to the amount of projects that get launched.
It's less than you think.
You hear of a few, and they become sort of like quite big stories. But there's loads and loads of stuff that just gets funded, quietly gets released, and then do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think like
every
of the
few months I get
Kickstarters
another one
that I've backed and stuff. Like I think I've only ever had one that didn't fully come through or something like that.
I honestly don't know if any of them that I have funded towards hadn't gotten made because I forget what
That's always the thing too. I get the email that's like, we're ready to ship. And I'm like, you're ready to ship what? I don't.
What are you shipping to me?
What do you need my address
shows up on my door. I'm like, oh, free game. Oh, no, wait.
Oh, right. I did pay for this 2 years ago. You're right. Okay.
I did. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. We went through a phase where we decided we were going to be a retailer for some reason, and we started just backing all these retail pledges. But then they often took so. I mean, it would be like 2 years later we'd get like 5 books, and we'd be like, oh, cool. Well, now that's a sweet £50 profit. Like at this rate.
I don't know. I think if you forget about paying for it, it's like you didn't.
True.
Yeah.
It's like,
We do that with like when we buy stock and then sell it, and it's like you forget when you place the order that you paid all of this money for these several thousand books, and then you're like, oh cool, we sold something that's just all pure profit. And it's like, well no, it's not, because we spent a lot of time making it.
It's a dent against that 10,000 that I paid for.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just getting the money back from all the money you spent, but you forget that you spent it, so it's fine. It's pure
but
profit.
you're like, it's in the positive column, and everyth's a win. So,
exactly.
If I thought about the numbers too much, I wouldn't be. So,
right.
This is true.
Absolutely. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what sort of process or mechanic do you two really love to see in a character creation system?
Tell you one that one thing I really like is and it's what we've got in Shadow Marg. It's also what's in Troika and numerous other games. But when you just roll like D100 or D66 or something, and you just get class, and it's just there, and it's like, okay, cool, take that, go. Electric Bastion Land's the same for that as well, actually. Like that sort of high tier, like a high level of random character generation, where you just get this one sort of like really fleshed out thing, and it's like, boom, right, there you go. Like, I really like that, actually. Yeah.
Vaults of Varn, I think, similar. But you don't get
Varn's
classes.
Like lots of separate tables.
Lots of separate tables. Yeah, I mean, that's what I like. I like a million different tables, too.
I do like lots of separate tables.
Ryan and I have never met a random table that we didn't want to roll on. Like, we've done episodes where we make characters by just rolling on random tables from a variety of different RPGs, and then like seeing if we can make something out of it. We're like, we'll take this one from D&D, and then this one will be from Shadowrun, and then
it's always been somewhat relatively coherent.
I mean, we did end up with like Jeremiah Jedediah Jefferson Jorgensen, attorney at law, but that's.
I mean, that's pretty coherent. You got a lot of J's in there, so
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
we had a
very
theme.
alliterative.
Yeah. No, I've never met a random table that I'm not like, okay, let's do it. It's.
I think for Salvage, I do like, for my sins, I like being able to look over a book in downtime and have something to do between sessions sometimes, if you're really into something. I think there's like, there's a thing like when you've got a game running and there's a group chat, and then there's like a constant excitement, because like, as I'm pretty sure we all know, the hardest thing in RPGs is maintaining a campaign, right? And like getting people to show up all the time. So yeah, having something where everyone's engaged between the sessions and like kind of vaguely chatting and stuff, and having something to engage with in that level, rather than just just waiting for the actual play to continue. That's also something that I do like. Though it can be a bit of a double-edged sword, because you can put all of that stuff in, and then it can also slow things down, so it's difficult to manage. But yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about you, Panny? What's one of your favorite character creation mechanics?
Ooh. I mean, I like character creation, it's really quick. I don't know if you'd call it a mechanic, but like like quick generation. Hence like the like of random tables, and I also like, I guess maybe we would call it a mechanic, but like really niche, like aggressive character creation concepts that are like just really focused. I think Troika's very good at doing that with its like just array of classes, like the is it Miss Kinsey's Dining Club, who are effectively all cannibals. Like it's just they all have a
member of Miss Kinsey's Supper Club, but like it's
the character, and it's hinting towards within that the law of the world. It's hinted towards that, and it takes you. You have to. It's clever, you have to think it, and you go, "Oh yeah, that's what that's trying to do." That's quite good. So I like that. Like just weird concepts that are that give you a very unique thing just to start off, and then when everyone has that, you get a sort of beautiful patchwork of bizarreness, which I really like.
Heart's really good at that as well.
Yeah, when every character has like that one little quirk or something, and then you put them all together, and you're like, oh, this makes a full picture that I would not have put together myself, but this combination of things really tells the story.
Heart's got a really good one of that as well, like the Deep Purist.
Yeah, the
bees. Yeah, because I think I rolled that one randomly, and I was like, I'm just bees.
Yes, I love the Deep Purist. Oh,
yeah,
so good.
When you've got that diegetic lore kind of built into the character creation, you're already getting kind of a buy-in on the theme, right? And that idiosyncratic kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you have like established facts about the world just based on the fact that you're like, oh, I'm filled with bees. That is a fact about this world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do think there's something to be said too for like a quick kind of snappy character creation, that like time to table being, there are definitely games that character creation is a session in and of itself, and I think there's room for that, but sometimes it is really nice to have a situation where it's like it's 5 minutes, you can pick all your own stuff, but we're ready to start, kind of to replace the need for pre-gens or something like that too.
Yeah. And can we be honest, random name tables are probably the best.
Awesome. Everything I write has always like a D100 table of names. Salvage has it. A KOA, which is a sort of ancient Greek game we're working on. Has a D100 Greek names with like epithets attached. Yeah, it's just so important.
Yeah.
I think another one for me actually as well is systems that encourage you to sort of like have flaws or weaknesses.
Yes.
So either like in that sort of troika sense where it's kind of prescribed, but like not being able to patch over every weakness to have like sort of a Merisu kind of situation going on. It's like you're bad at stuff and that's okay. Like or even if you're just playing like old school D&D, and it's like 3d6 down the line and there are no swapsies or takebacks. It's like I like that because it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm just rubbish at everything, and that's fine. But then that sort of informs your character, right? It's anything that really adds characterization, I think, is actually kind of the thing.
Yeah,
we got to experience a little bit of that with our Shadow Dark characters last month, because I think between us, like our best charisma score was like a -1 or something. Which I think is that the one that like led us to be like, oh, now we work for a multi-level marketing place, and we're really
it was
we're
an
really
MLM
bad.
cult.
Yeah, an MLM cult, and we're really bad at it.
That was an MLM.
Yeah, we got kicked out because we were so bad at being salespeople.
They kept sending us on like really bad errands that were like wild goose chases.
And it was entirely based off the fact that we did our 3d6 and all of us sucked. And we're like, great.
Yep.
Let's start an MLM.
Those roles, like in abstract they just seem like, it's a negative, but they can really inform like your character and even the direction of the group, which I think is that's one of the things I really like about RPG is like it goes back to the emergence thing, which is like I think like the main appeal for RPGs for me is like playing to find out what happens, and you sit down and you don't know, are you going to be all MLM cultists? Who knows? Like you don't know that before you start, and then you do, and it's just beautiful because it gets created in the moment, and it gained a life of its own. And so I like games. I encourage that in general. I think
games are good.
Games, I like games. Who'd have thought?
We like to talk about character sheets and layout and things, since character sheets are usually kind of the first interaction people have with a game when you sit down to play it. And so I want to talk about like what kind of decisions you made as far as the layout of the character sheets, things that you wanted, didn't want, how it fits with the game as a whole, that kind of stuff.
The character sheets were kind of tricky for Salvage Union specifically because there's a lot of variation in the characters. We actually worked it out. I think there's, if you count all of the different, like, if it was completely randomized and you could have duplicates of everything, then between the pilot and the mech combo. I think there's 150 million, different builds that you can make.
Wow.
Because there's so much variety. There's like 100 systems, there's 50 modules, there's 30 chassis. Well, there's 48 chassis, I think now, 50, I think, including the ones that are coming out in the starter set. And then there's obviously all the different pilot classes, there's the different abilities in the pilot equipment. So there's all of this stuff. And but because of that, it means that obviously different builds require different sort of amounts of space for different things on the sheet. So trying to find kind of an average that works for most things and then being able to squeeze it on, because the other thing is I really like playing on paper. I like playing in person and with paper. I'm not so much online and PDFs. So I really wanted to have it like, you can take this book and photocopy that sheet out, or, print out the PDF, what have you, and then print them out and then write in them. And having the room to put everything is actually quite challenging, because especially some of the systems and modules as well, they have quite long descriptions for how they work. So, it was always kind of like going to be slightly referential in terms of you still maybe going to have to check the book when, occasionally when you do a thing. So there was very much a thing of having the function there. Aesthetically speaking, I like character sheets that really add a vibe to a thing. I think there's like a lot of old school stuff has some really nice hand illustrated character sheets and stuff where you've got like, you've got an illustration of a sword and then you put your weapon damage in it, that kind of thing. I really like those. I think they add a lot of vibes. I think like Morkborg's a great example of this as well, because you have like the aesthetic, the visuals are the game. It's not sort of form over function. The form is the function. You read so much into what you're given, right? So kind of wanted to get that with Salvage, but then it's like this really difficult conflict, because you've got like the need to have this clear illustration of what everything you have is, because there's a lot, because it's a mech game, so you have all of these different things, but also have it so that it's like relatively simple. In the end, we went with relatively functional sheet, but then obviously keeping the color coding, which then matches the book. So then obviously if your character sheet's color coded, the section of the book.
A thing that I love is that like the pilot sheet or whatever is orange, because that section of the book has like the orange edges, and then you get to the mech one and it's that kind of teal green sort of color, same as the book. The crawler sheet again, pink, same as the book. Which I love the layout in the book too, and we'll talk about that at some point too. But the fact that the sheet really kind of matches that makes it so intuitive. And
I think sort of like broadly then, when I was looking at, look, how do we get some flavor into this? It's using the typography. So we use Roboto throughout the book, but then using obviously different weights and like condensed versions and things like that, just to add a bit of thing. Some rotated text, like, because you're really also trying to fit quite a lot of information into a small space, having the hierarchy right. And then, you add a little bit of texture and stuff like that to get a bit of that feel. Like you're kind of looking at a spec sheet, right? For like a piece of equipment. And I felt like that was like the better way to go, because then, again, sort of the whole book is meant to be kind of like an in-world artifact. So keeping it to that kind of thing without sort of, overburdening it with art felt like, kind of the way to go. And I think broadly it succeeds. It doesn't work so great as like a PDF, because then obviously you get, because as soon as you make an editable PDF, there's lots of different typography and stuff like that. So it gets, you start to lose some of that consistency. But overall, I'm not sure what I would change is the thing. That's the really difficult thing for me, because now I'm looking at it, I'm like, what would I change about it? And I'm not sure that there's a lot that I would. Particularly in terms of what's in the book. I'd probably change some of the box sizes and stuff because you realize, oh, maybe you need a bit more space for text here, or what have you. But
right.
Yeah, that was kind of the thought there. But yeah, mostly I think for character sheets specifically, I mostly look to get as much of the sort of core message across, but ultimately a character sheet's a functional item for me.
Yeah.
So I think that has to sort of like take priority over anything else. The rest of the book you can play with a bit more, particularly things that are not reference sections. And again, you look at Morkborg and you see this in their adventure layout sections in the back of the book. It's way more structured than the rest of the book because this is the information you're referring to in game, and it's much easier to have more difficult to pass things if you're doing it in downtime because you have kind of unlimited time to do that in a sense. Whereas in game it has to be snappy, it has to be right there, right now, because otherwise the experience starts to suffer.
Yeah. I think I like too that the order of things on the sheet very much match like the order that you're doing them in character creation too. I know our listeners have heard me say it lots of times, but I like when it's clear to me when I do something in character creation, where does it go on the sheet? I shouldn't have to look at a sheet and be like, I don't know which box this goes in. But the fact too that those boxes were also in the same order, that they were, this book uses a lot of, we talked about the skill trees, but a lot of flow charts and things like that too. And this kind of does follow that same linear sort of pattern.
It's that informational hierarchy, right? Like, you get information and then it's repeated. And then there's a lot of repetition in the book, to be fair, because, you have, in those ability sections, you've got those flowcharts, which have then a brief description of what it is, because when you're looking at building a character, you're just going to look at the overview, but then when you're playing, you're like, okay, well, now I'm just going to go to the reference section because I'm actually doing the thing, so let's see exactly what it does, and it's that's very much a deliberate decision in that regard, because it's got to be usable, right?
I think functionality was really important. We did do some iteration with it, like I remember bouncing back some feedback to the community, but it is the salvage sheet in particular, I think is a tricky challenge, and I think Aled did a very good job of it. I know, like one piece, there's a maxim that players can tell you kind of what's wrong with a design, but they can't necessarily think of solutions. And one piece of feedback we got was so systems and modules on the sheet aren't differentiated, which can be a little confusing at a glance. You kind of have to, when you design your mech, you have to work out where the line is and which are the systems and which are the modules, because it's not specifically like a module box and a system box. But that's because there's so much variability in the design of the mechs. Like some mechs have one of the mechs I think has 10 module slots, for example. So it's well, how many do we put 10 module slots on every sheet? Plus there's a system that can add more modules. So do you?
Right.
So how do you put 12 on? But what if someone somehow works out how to get 13, right? Then the sheet's not usable. So we just so it's basically just a series of boxes that can be either. But then that's unsatisfying. But then I'm not sure if there is really a workaround there from a design perspective. So you have these
write it in a different color.
It does come to the player has to sort of note it down in a certain way.
It was the same with the cargo slots. We had the same issue because most mechs have 6 cargo capacity as a default. I think the Atlas has 30, and with various abilities, you can actually get it up to 120. But obviously, 120 boxes on it, it's just there's just too many. So we just put a big box with some dividing lines, and it's cool. You can draw extra lines if you need to subdivide these down into really tiny boxes, and it's and again,
you can just
it
print
comes
out
back
that
to
second page again if you need more.
You can, again, I think it comes back to this thing of RPG is inherently incomplete medium, so there's always going to be a certain amount that you as a player or a GM are going to have to modify to suit your needs. So it's providing a template that's modifiable in that way as you need it. And
the most useful in the most cases is really kind of what you have to go for at that point.
Especially for a mech game that's all about that customization and whatnot, right?
Right, because it is so modular and so, like...
Yeah, it's not like you have, here's your hand slot, here's your core engine slot, here's your AI processor slot. And now you have like 30 different boxes for each component slot and everything. It would get too unwieldy. This is very simplified and easy and approachable, and the blankness of the character sheet tells you you're gonna configure this the way that you want to.
Yeah.
The other thing to bear in mind as well. Sorry.
Oh, go
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like it struck a really good balance kind of between being an overwhelming blank sheet of like, oh my God, there's so much information I'm going to have to fill in. And then like going through the process and being like, oh, okay, it's really not like you've given me the room that I need and like a little extra space as we move forward. But like, it really isn't as, daunting as like Ryan loves Heroes Unlimited. And the skill lines on that character sheet. I mean, it's just like the bottom half is just loose leaf. It's just lines. And it's like, oh, okay. But some of the lines are also not big enough to fit the things that I need to write on them. So it is a fine balance between putting a blank sheet in front of somebody and having them be like, oh God, I have so much to fill in. And then also making sure that space is usable. And I feel like this kind of found a good balance there.
I think the final thing on it is in terms of printability as well, because when you're making a character sheet, you have to remember that most people are going to be printing these out and making it so that when you do print it out, it comes out looking good. Now, these are textured, and there was some kind of thing because they're in color and they're textured, and so we've got PDFs that are just like blank black for that reason. I also feel like, I've printed these out in grayscale, and they come out looking fine. So, but I think you have to make sure that you have to do a test print of it on a home printer to see, because if you've got like too much fine detail, or you've got too many, particularly if you have colored text on another colored background, and the values of those are the same, then when you print them in grayscale, you just get a gray box for the most part. So you have to make sure that you've got high enough contrast in the sheet, and there's like little print things like that, also important to keep in mind, although I guess that's kind of a bit more nuanced in terms of design. But it's certainly a thing. Like if anyone's thinking of making their own, then
I mean, people will tell
that, like, have like a full background and everything too on the character sheet, that it's like, okay, there's all of my ink for,
exactly.
People get annoyed by it. So like it will come up probably.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, how do we think character creation for Salvage Union stacks up to other systems we've played and created characters for?
Is that for us? Like best ever? I don't know.
Best creation ever.
Buy it now, Leyline.press. Sorry.
I will say, I think like for me, it has such a level of customization without ever feeling overwhelming. Like I didn't ever feel, because it does kind of, put you on those tracks of like, okay, so, once you've picked your class or whatever, you're like, okay, I have these 3 trees to pick from. And I know that if I get the first thing, then we go, down that kind of path. And, you pick your mech and it's like, okay, you have this many slots of this kind of thing. And it, without feeling so overwhelming, without being so mentally taxing. We've covered Lancer on the show before. And, like that one, you really do need a character creation tool to help you through it. And this felt like I had the same level of choices and stuff, but not in a way that was like, here you go, 5,000 things. Hope it works out for you. Like
it was designed to sort of drip feed the new content to you as you level, and then I guess once you've played a full campaign and you've got that sort of level of system mastery where you kind of know all the things that are upcoming, then you can kind of go back in and go, oh, okay, cool, now I'm going to do this, and you're gonna play around with it a bit more and pull it apart. But again, very deliberate decision. I think when we were looking at the dev, right, Penny, we were sort of we want to have the most options text free. I think, right? Because that's where we wanted it to kind of peak in terms of options available to you from unlocking that new tech tier, and then it sort of starts to trim down again at the higher levels.
Yeah.
It's a nice bell curve in there for choice.
Yeah, it does
exactly. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I think that bears
a lot of this game just says elegant design to me. Like that, just seeing that chart, that first chart for your pilot class, like I'm not going to get over this. I'm sorry, but just it's so simplistic and like beautiful, and it has like this structural, almost like fractal design sort of thing going on there. That really pulls you into like, wow, these are my choices. These are my like potential, character outcomes for this character down the line. And I can see that so easily from this instead of having to page through all the different classes to try to figure it out. So like, it's very approachable.
Quite pleased with that one, to be honest. That there's a nice symmetry to it, I think, right? Like, and the fun thing actually is if you play a long enough campaign, you can start with one class and you can multi-class in and then down, and you can actually kind of work your way around. In theory,
nice.
That's
because
really cool.
You can learn and unlearn things. So you can in theory do that, but obviously it take like a really long time, and you'd have to do a lot of downtimes. But it is in theory possible. Which kind of, it's a nice little mirror to real life as well, right? Like you start doing one thing, that doesn't mean you can't retrain, right?
Oh yeah, and especially if you're going into a thing that you're not fully tangentially used to, you're going to be starting at the basic level, which makes a ton of sense.
It's an interesting thing actually. I think when we were first doing the dev on it, we wanted it to be classless, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know if we mentioned earlier, but the Salvager in particular was in my mind like the class. Like you could just play the game and everyone just plays a Salvager, and it's quite an interesting experience in that respect because you're all very versatile, and that effectively would be like a classless system with just an array of abilities. But then classes, like people like classes, and they do help you. They help you like frame and structure and get niche protection and all those good things. I think we went for a class system in the end, didn't we? Obviously.
I can imagine the decision paralysis being if only you had the salvager that feels like it'd be daunting for some players.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
You'd have to, you'd end up, if you wanted to design it well, having to structure it in such a way that you effectively create pseudo classes within the salvager anyway.
Yeah,
right?
everything's a subclass, and then it might as well just be a class.
Because you could lay it out in such a, but then you're basically making classes at that point. And
No.
I do really appreciate too, you've talked a lot about like that kind of hierarchy of information, but I do appreciate that when you open the book and you look at your class, it's like, here's everything, like here's the things that you can level up into, and you can kind of see the full trajectory, but also it's not in a way where it's like, I have to decide on all of these things right now. It's just like, here's what's open to you. It doesn't fully go into what any of those things mean necessarily. Like there's a little bit of info, like just a touch of info to be like, oh, this interests me, in a way that it's like you can kind of skim over things to decide what thing do I really want to actually dive into, and there's plenty there that if you do want to go and read through every class and look at all of the skill tree, you can. But it also has that kind of high level just sort of summarization in a way that's really beginner friendly.
Yeah, I think I quite like you have kind of a really broad summary and then a slightly less broad summary and then detail. And then, you can kind of, like you say, it's about working your way in, right? And it's the same with that bell curve on the tech leveling system. It's, you start with limited options and then you work your way into it. And if you want to skip past and sort of like, read the whole thing, then, by all means. But as we were saying before, in terms of like character creation process, I think we're both quite keen on fast. so that you can actually play the game, because there's already plenty of barriers to getting a game running.
Right.
And removing as many of those as you can is because it's all well and good like making a nice looking book that people buy on Kickstarter, but if it sits on their shelf, then it's kind of a bit of a dead game, right? You're not going to build much community around it. I feel like building community around something is the most valuable thing you can do as a company. To actually have people playing it, right?
That's the dream.
Absolutely.
I'd agree. I think Salvage, but all our game designs really are like, accessibility and ease of play. But also I think I do like the character creation process. Like, I know some would say like, well, you can just use pre-made characters, right? But there's that still misses something for me. Like, I like, even if it only takes 5 minutes, I like the act of like making a character, because then it's mine. So then making that process like accessible and interesting, and with still some options, right, which I think is what Salvage does quite well, is important to me.
It gives you that agency, right?
I think you're much more connected to a thing that you've created yourself.
Absolutely.
Many barbarians like it, but this one is mine.
Yep.
Exactly.
Bob free.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 of this discussion series. We'll be back in part 2, picking up right where we left off.
Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at CreationCast, or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Lord Neptune, or online at lordneptune.com. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, exclusive merch, and much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time.